In the next series of spots, I'm going to start reviewing the DC Universe Wave 16. This would be the Collect and Connect Bane series of figures. And today, starting those reviews, starting those series of spots, today's toy spot, we're going to be looking at Figure 5 of Wave 16. We're going to be looking at DC Universe Classics. We're going to be looking at Mercury. I started the reviews, I started these spots with Mercury first, just due to the accessory that he comes with. And we'll get into that when the package is opened up. I figured I'd also start the review with the figure I probably was least interested in getting. I personally am not a fan of metal men. I never collected them as a kid, so for me, Mercury is not really a figure I would have jumped right away to get. But going back to packaging, one thing that is quite apparent as I go off camera here and reach for it is that the fact that the packaging, I just bring in the repaint Nightwing here, is considerably taller than the older packaging. And certainly most, I'm not going to review this figure right now, but certainly the packaging that it was before was clearly adequate enough to fit the figure and all the accessories in it. And what they've done instead is they've seemed to have left the button out, but then they've made the packaging so much larger. I don't know. Bit of a waste, really, the fact that they have so much plastic. And by plastic, I mean the card here. One thing that they have also changed, I move this off camera here, is that they've actually changed the back card altogether as well. And I kind of like the packaging. It's got Batman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Flash. Superman at the top there, and some characters in the background there as well. You can see Wonder Woman and whatnot. I do like this kind of starburst raised plastic that they've got going on here as well. That's kind of neat. And I mention this all now because I won't mention it for the other reviews because I don't want to bog my reviews down with so much talk about plastic packaging and whatnot. On the back of the packaging, the other figures that make up DC Universe Wave 16, we've got Jonah Hex, we've got the Creeper, we've got Riddler, we've got a Robin and variant Robin, we've got Mercury, and finally we've got Azrael Batman. Collect them all. Collect all 6. You don't necessarily need the 7th unless you're a Robin fan. I am. And you can collect and connect the Bane. Oh boy, have I ever been waiting for a Bane. Anyways, let's go back to Mercury. We're a long way from home, my friends. Let's not start talking about Bane just yet. The biography says, when robotics genius Will Magnus created his miraculous metal men, he not only brought different metals and alloys to life, but he also gave them distinct personalities. Quick-tempered with a nasty attitude, Mercury can go from solid to liquid, allowing him to pass through or fit inside small spaces with ease. He is generally angry and sarcastic, but it masks an inner nobility and true devotion to his team. See, even when you're a jerk, the jerks, they still have hearts. They really do. Statistics, first appearance showcase number 37, 1962. Real name Mercury. Occupation member of the Metal Men. Base of operations Magnus Labs. Special abilities animated by a device called the Responsometer. Clever. Giving him both his form and personality, can liquefy at will. So there you go. Let's get this out of package. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the the Metal Men member of Mercury. We're also going to start with our first piece to Bane. So there's so much more on the way, guys. Don't go anywhere. And as when we start with any series of DC Universe figures, of course what we're going to look at first, before we look at the figure itself, is we're going to look at the Collect and Connect piece that comes here with Mercury. In this case, we're actually going to get the upper torso of Bane. Really not much to be said. You can certainly see right from first glance that he is quite detailed, the sculpt on his chest and everything else. But certainly still missing his arms, his head, his underoos, and of course his legs. The one thing that's interesting about this particular torso is the fact that the straps of his, I guess his tank top or whatever he wears, being that it is a rubber, as you can see here, you can also take it off. And you're saying, Spot, why? Why? Who cares? Well, if you are one, I personally am not, but if you're one that would appreciate, and maybe would prefer Bane to be shirtless, before you actually start connecting him together, as it were, you could certainly decide right off the bat to take these off, and then you could just have a shirtless Bane. Personally, I whenever I think Bane, I think him with these on anyways, so I would personally leave it on myself. But I would say, you have the option. You do have the option. If you take it off, though, and you start putting pieces together, you decide later you want to put these straps back on, might be a little harder. So think wise, my friends. Think wise as to whether you want to keep these on or take them off. I'm going to personally keep them on. And I've already spent a minute and a half talking about an upper torso of Bane. Lots more certainly to come to be added on to this guy, so we're going to put him down for the second. And let's have a look at Mercury. Okay, so it's not really my thing. I'm not really a fan of Metal Men, but as a figure, I do really like Mercury here. He's this really bright, very vibrant red, extremely red. I like it quite a bit. And if memory serves me and I can think back, which I probably won't be able to, one thing I complained about with like the Harley Quinn, and I believe even I've noticed it on the Flash, is that the red was a very washed out red. Had they gone with this kind of red, I think would have made for a fantastic looking figure. Certainly as well, I didn't like the Harley Quinn face that they used with the blue, but I digress. I do like Mercury's face. It's got quite a bit of personality to it, with the long nose, certainly is, and the long chin. He is the Bob Hope of DC Universe figures. I'm sure anybody in a certain age is like, Bob Hope? Who's Bob Hope? And Mercury's one accessory. Now I've got him with the alternate hand on right now, just because that was the hand that actually came on the figure when I opened it up. But his alternate hand actually has a pair of working scissors, which is very cool. The one thing I would be leery to say is be careful with these scissors, as this plastic feels very brittle. I'm almost concerned too with the way that plastic ages at times. Certainly the longer you have plastic, you know how things go. I worry that this be too brittle, that this might eventually snap off. Also be very careful if you ever have him on display on your shelf with these scissors, that if he happens to fall off the shelf, these scissors I'm sure would break right off. But he does have the alternate hand, and I guess really the alternate hand is the hand. I get this hand off actually. It's really on there. Give me strength. There we go. Surprisingly, the alternate hand was the hand that didn't have the scissors. There we go. And we have Mercury with just his regular hands. It's really a matter of preference whether you want to go with the scissors or without. I guess if you are a Metal Man fan, you probably would go with scissors. Maybe if you're not, you might just go without. Who knows? But he is a basic body sculpt. There's really nothing to him aside from this extra triangular piece that they've put on front here. Kind of looks like they have shared this mold with the Plastic Man that was released as well, going with a very thin build. I'll probably mention this as well during the Riddler review, but I would say that the one thing with the Riddler is the fact that I just wish his body wasn't as big as it was. I think they should have really used this body sculpt, and I will say this again, I'm sure. I wish they had used this body sculpt for the Riddler and not the larger, normal DC Universe body. In the way of his articulation, Mercury has a ball-jointed head. Of course, he's got the pin and socket swiveled shoulder that his arm can move back and forth, in and out. I gotta say as well, his joints are all stiff as well, which I really like. Nothing is loose on him. His bicep can swivel. He has actually 2 points of articulation in the elbows. He has a swivel in the hand. His hand can also pivot back and forth. He has waist articulation. Normally he would have the articulated torso here as well, where the torso could lean back and forth, but because this piece has been applied, pretty much deters that from happening. His legs can bend out. Oh, I'm sure that must hurt. Back and forth. You can rotate the thigh. He can bend the knee at 2 points, and also he can bend at the foot. I wouldn't say I necessarily hate this figure. I do like that he has quite a bit of personality. Again, being that I'm not a huge Metal Man fan, having not grown up really reading the comics, I might not necessarily say this is a figure that you should pick up, but if you are a Metal Man fan, this definitely is a neat looking figure, and there is lots of personality in the face here. Certainly lots. Mercury here, I'm gonna give him a 6. I'm really gonna give him a 6. He's not a bad figure for what he is, and surely a good example of just because you don't know a lot about the character should not deter your opinions of the figure that that it's based from. So a 6 for Mercury, a good start, kind of. I would say a good start with Bane. Certainly there's a lot more to go on with there. But I will wrap this up here. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look. The starting of DC Universe Wave 16, we were looking today at Mercury. He's not a bad figure, but I am really excited about the other figures in this lineup. So there's more to come, guys. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.